Hello folks, my name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? So, Kyle Rittenhouse is gonna walk. I don't think anybody out there who's been paying attention to the trial is surprised at that. It's been pretty obvious that was gonna happen, especially seeing how this judge has just not been hiding his bias for Rittenhouse like at all. You know, in this entire thing here. I mean, even since the very beginning, where he basically said that the two victims in this case, the two people that Rittenhouse shot to death and killed, could not be referred to as victims, right? But it was okay to refer to them as rioters and looters and shit. I think even since even from there, it was like, okay, pretty fucking obvious that this was going to be a tough hill to climb. And then last week, when the judge threw out the weapons charge, then it was like, it's over. That was like 2 days ago. It was like, it's over. He's going to walk, right? And which is bullshit, because in my opinion, Kyle Rittenhouse deserves to be in prison, okay? Here's the thing. Maybe he doesn't deserve to be in prison for his entire life, right? Because you could say, yeah, okay, maybe these cases, maybe it was self-defense, whatever, right? But he definitely broke the law and put himself in that position where he ended up killing two people, right? Because Kyle Rittenhouse is not a cop, okay? That's the thing you gotta remember. Like, why was he there, right? He claimed that he went there to defend property, right? To defend this, car dealership, which was his friend's car dealership, and that he was gonna go there to put out fires and clean off graffiti and prevent this dealership from getting burned down, right? Why? Why was he there? We already have people, right, that defend property. They're called police, okay? So he shouldn't have been there in the first place, right? That's bullshit. Secondly, if you're gonna put out fires, then how come you weren't armed with a fire extinguisher? Why was he armed with a fucking rifle? Was he gonna shoot the fire? Was he gonna clean off graffiti with his fucking rifle? Here's another thing that he said, that he was gonna administer first aid, right? Was he gonna shoot the band-aids on the people with his gun? Was he gonna put the bandages on the edge of his gun and fire it into people's faces and shit? Ridiculous. Why the fuck did he even have it? And here's the thing, if he didn't have the gun, nobody would have attacked him. Okay, but of course, no. The reason why he had the gun is because Rittenhouse comes from that sort of militia culture, right? That's why he knew how to fire a rifle at 17, right? Which was bullshit, and that's the thing you got to remember, right? Is that this is the kind of the crux of the case, is that you're not allowed to do what he did. You're not allowed to put, the law into your own hands like that, okay? There are very few cases where you're allowed to kill someone and not go to prison, right? And it just so happens that, self-defense is one of those, right? But if you do something illegal and it results in somebody else dying, that is against the law, right? And so they should have charged him with manslaughter, right? Because he'd be in prison now. I don't know why they went for, murder in the first degree or whatever the fuck it was, which is fucking ridiculous, in the first place. So it was always a tough hill to climb here. And to be honest, the prosecutors in this case did an abysmal job, right? I mean, from the very beginning, they charged him with the wrong thing. They were asking the wrong questions. They're a couple of fucking clowns, those guys. They're gonna lose their jobs. I don't know. At least they deserve to. But let's also not forget that the judge in this case definitely was on Rittenhouse's side, made a lot of decisions, and used all of his ability to basically tip the scales in favor of Rittenhouse too. So it just kind of goes to show, man, that the American justice system is really fucked up. It's messed up, and it just so happens that right-wingers and crazy conservatives and shit always seem to make out on the positive side when it comes to the American justice system, right? Because here's the thing, right? What if Kyle Rittenhouse was black? Do you think that we even would have had this trial? I don't think so. I think if Kyle Rittenhouse was black, he'd probably be dead, because the police probably would have shot him that night. You remember the video, right? Kyle Rittenhouse just killed two people, shot another guy in the arm, right? And then walks over to the cops and is waving at them, holding a gun like this. He's got the rifle down, right? And he's waving at the police, and the police are giving him bottled water, waving and saying, hey, thank you for coming, shit like that, right? Do you think if he was black and he did that, if he approached the police with a rifle like that, they probably would have blown him away, okay? And anybody out there who doesn't think so, you're naive. But even if Kyle Rittenhouse was just not conservative, what if he was one of the BLM protesters and that exact same thing happened, right? Like, let's say, for example, let's say that I decided I was going to, on January 6th, I was going to go to the Capitol, and I was going to bring, my rifle with me in order to defend the Capitol because I thought the police weren't going to do their jobs. And then January 6th happened, and let's say I got in a fight with a couple people, and I ended up shooting 5 people, and 3 of them died, right? Do you think I'd be free to go after the trial, or do you think I'd be in prison? I can tell you right now, number one, if that actually happened, I'd be in prison. I'd probably be found guilty. And all of the Second Amendment people, all of the guns rights activist people, all the conservatives who always say that, the Second Amendment, the guns rights and all this other bullshit, right? They would be jumping all over me right now, trying to dig out any kind of little thing in my history to defame my character. Because that's exactly what happens, right? Whenever someone who isn't super conservative has to defend themselves using a firearm. Okay, that's the thing you got to remember about Second Amendment activists, is that they don't actually give a shit about the Second Amendment. They don't actually care about your ability to own a lethal weapon. They care about their ability to own their guns. And they don't give a fuck about you. They want to own their guns. They want to be able to shoot you. They don't care if you're able to actually own a gun yourself. And we know this because this has happened a couple of times, right? There was a guy named, if you remember a few years back, a guy named Garrett Foster, who was at a BLM protest, right? And what happened was that another guy, whose name was Daniel Perry, who was a U.S. Army sergeant, ran his car into the crowd, and this was in Texas, right? Ran his car into the crowd of this BLM protest. So Foster goes up to the car with his rifle, right? Because, self-defense, right? And this other dude in the car fucking kills him. Right, and then tried to claim self-defense, saying that, hey, the guy had a rifle. It's like, well, you just ran your car into a crowd and tried to kill 6 or 7 people and shit, right? So what did the right-wingers, what did the Second Amendment people, the gun nuts, what did they say about Garrett Foster? Did they support him? Did they say, hey, this guy, was just trying to defend himself, right? He had a constitutional right to own that gun? No, they didn't do that. They shit all over him. They tried to dig up stuff in his past, right? And they basically just, called him a traitor and all that shit, okay? And here's the thing about Garrett Foster, right? Garrett Foster was a libertarian. He was a Second Amendment activist. That's why he had the gun in the first place, right? He was doing what you're supposed to do when you're armed like that and other people's lives are being put in danger, right? And the right wing just shit all over him, okay? Another example, there's a guy named Michael Reinoehl. I don't know if you remember him, but about 2 years ago, in 2018 or so, I think is what it was, in Oregon, during a BLM protest, right? He saw a guy getting assaulted, and went up and shot him. The guy he shot was named, I got it right here. His name was Aaron Danielson, right? And Aaron Danielson was a member of the Patriot Prayer militia group, right? A far-right, right-wing militant militia group. Was running around. He had one of those extendable batons, and if those things, they're illegal in California, but basically it's like a spring-loaded baton that opens up, right? And you could, basically was beating people with it, and then had a can of fucking bear spray, and was going around and beating up BLM protesters, right? Reinoehl saw him assaulting a guy on the ground, went up and defended him, shot him, right? What happened to Michael Reinoehl, okay? The police blew him away. That's what happened, right? Then, a couple of days later, the cops find him, he's in his car, they go up and they just shot him to death, killed him, right? No cameras, right? No body cameras, no dashboard cameras, nothing like that. All we have is their story. They claim Reinoehl pulled his gun, right? We have no idea of that happening. The next day, Donald Trump bragged about that. I don't know if you remember, Trump was bragging that they shot this guy dead, right? So that's what fucking happens when you're on the left, right? When you're a BLM protester, when you're a leftist, when you're a, progressive or whatever, and you try to exercise your Second Amendment rights. They just fucking kill you, okay? Reminds me a lot of Trayvon Martin. You know, do you guys remember Trayvon Martin? What is that? You know, quite a few years at this point. What, 6 years, something like that. Trayvon Martin walking home, minding his business. You know, went to the store, got some Skittles, got some iced tea. George Zimmerman shows up. You know, questions him, why are you here? They get in a fight. Zimmerman shoots him dead. Zimmerman doesn't go to prison after that. Gets off scot-fucking-free, right? You know, think if that was the other way around, right? Think if, you know, George Zimmerman was black, Trayvon Martin was white. Which one of those people would be, you know, in jail right now? Okay? And that's, you know, so yeah, it's definitely not fair. You know, the justice system in this country is really messed up. And the other thing that you got to remember here too is that now all the right-wingers, all the MAGA chuds, the Proud Boy types, those types of people are going to see this and they're going to be encouraged by it, and they're just going to like start blowing people away at these protests. So if you're a protester, you know, if you're like with BLM or something, and Antifa, whatever, and you're going out to a protest, you should wear body armor. You know, you should invest in a nice Kevlar vest, right, and wear body armor, and be prepared, because that could save your life, right? Because you think this is going to be the end? No, of course it isn't. Of course it isn't. These people are going to say, hey, Rittenhouse killed fucking 2 people and he got off scot-free. So that must mean that, and that's exactly what's going to happen. And they're just going to get more and more aggressive. Okay. So it's messed up every which way you see about it, you know. And, you know, Rittenhouse is just one person, you know, that got caught up in this culture war or whatever. But what happens when, you know, you allow people to get away with stuff like this is that it just gets worse. And mark my words, you're going to see at a protest coming soon, someone's going to start opening fire into the crowd, right? And the excuse they're going to have is like, it was self-defense. And it's funny how it's always self-defense when it's a right-winger, and it's always murder when it's, you know, someone on the left. Just funny how that shit works, folks. Anyway, it's all messed up any which way you look at it, man. Everybody is insane. That's all I got, folks. Adios.